morning, good afternoon, everybody. So great to be here. I'm excited to share. So I'm just going to start with sharing my screen. I'm going to share about the Living Life to the Full course that we have through Canadian Mental Health Association. So today's is going to be about the mental health support for stroke survivors and their caregivers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the presentation and just share with you guys what the presentation, what we do in this course. And then we'll do a little run through as well. So we'll go through a couple of the sessions that we have. And then if we have time at the end, which I'm hoping we do, I'm going to share a really quick exercise that is really good for us to just kind of take away and use. I like to share things that are just a minute or two because I feel like those are totally doable in our busy lives every day. So I'm just going to dive right into this and start sharing with you the program overview. So this was a program created by Dr. Chris Williams, who is a medical doctor and a psychiatrist, recognized teacher and researcher in the area of cognitive behavior therapy, also known as CBT. So the course is a flagship program in Canada, managed from CMHA BC Division, and it's available in 9 provinces and 1 territory. So there are a lot more than 270 active facilitators, and there's over 65 sub-licensed affiliates throughout Canada. So based on CBT principles, it's tools that, practical tools to reduce stress, worry, to boost your mood, improve motivation and problem-solving skills, which we'll run through in a little bit here, just so you get an idea of, and you can actually try it out while we're on the screen here. And it's identifying unhelpful thoughts and behaviors. And the courses are run, we're back to doing in person. So they're run virtually and in person. And they're, like we're speaking today about, it's for caregivers, and they're delivered in many different ways. And then this is just a little rundown really of ways that you can participate or you can have it in your organization. So you can get a sub-license agreement. There are trained facilitators all over. And then there's CMHA employees like myself who are certified facilitators. So there's a range of different ways that these programs you can attend or you can run within your organization. And it is an evidence-based program. So it's not a treatment. It is a mental, oops, sorry, I'm ahead of myself here. Mental wellness promotion course. So it's like an entry point to dive into the CBT. And the course, it's delivered in English and French, but the other materials are available in these other languages as well. So it's, there's a wide range of people we can reach with this. And it is live and it's group-based, so there's not recorded sessions. You're usually in a group setting, whether it's in person or whether it's virtually. And it's delivered over 8 weeks, so an hour and a half each week for an 8-week period on the same day, usually same day, same time. And it is a course that's based on booklets and other resources that are used during the class. And then again, some exercises are done in breakout rooms and some are done in pairs, and then some are done in the big group. So each session that we go through usually it builds upon the next. So like each session, you will go away with something to try out in your week, and then you come back and just see how that worked for you. And then we kind of brainstorm within the group, because when we're in that group setting, it's kind of nice to learn from one another to see what worked, what didn't work, and then picking up those ideas on how we can apply this in our daily life. And then these are some of the things that are involved. There are booklets that come with it. There are some handouts to kind of, you can post around, whether it's in your workplace, in your home, just as good reminders. And there are other tools that come with it as well. So that's a little rundown of the whole course. And this is my favorite part now, where we get to practice and we put it into a practical tool that we can take away. So I'm going to run through 2 different sessions that we have. The first one is, why do I feel so bad? So, we all have different times that we can feel not so good. It can be different for each of us, depending on, what's going on in our life or whether it's kind of our thoughts that are, bringing things up. And it can range from a lot of different things. So, these are just a few things that we have on the screen here that it may be, but there are so many more that we could add to this list. And like I say, it's different for each of us, and we know what works best for ourselves. So just kind of thinking about, what are some of the things that do make us feel bad? And then what kind of happens from there? What are the next steps that kind of happen? So in this program, what we focus on is the vicious cycle. So each session, we kind of come back to the vicious cycle. And there's 4 parts to it. So I will go through each one, and you can just kind of think about it in your own life or whatever's going on, and just see how that kind of resonates for you. So it always starts with a thought. So these are 4, it's always altered thinking. And then it doesn't always have to go in this order. So usually it's always a thought that comes up first. So it can be a thought that comes up, and then it can go into a feeling, or it can go right into a physical symptom in our body, where we may feel our heart rate is going faster, or we're kind of getting sweaty palms, or, we're feeling tingling in our body. It just depends, and it's different for everybody. And then most of the time it goes into a behavior. So the behavior can be that we kind of go quiet, or we lash out, or we just, we'll do different things. So it really, to kind of think about, this is the cycle that we kind of focus on the most. So we just think about, what happens to me when I have a thought that comes up? What's the next thing I do? Does it go into a feeling, and then I start feeling a certain way, and then it goes into a symptom, and then into a behavior? Or do I have a thought and then I act upon it right away, so it would go into the altered behavior? Or do I have a physical symptom that shows up in my body, or I can pick up on something? I'm sharing just a small one here, which is a life situation that can happen, and they're late, and you only have 1 hour. You send a text and you don't get a reply. So we may all have different things that come up for us when this happens. Some of us may think, well, maybe they just ran late, maybe they're running late, maybe they forgot. And then some of us may think, oh my gosh, something really awful's happened. I wonder what's going on. Maybe they got in a car accident. And it's just to really think about this scenario and think, what happens? How can I resonate to the vicious cycle when something like this happens to me? So if we can all just take like a couple of seconds here to think about this life situation. You're waiting for a friend in a coffee place, they're late, and you have 1 hour, you send a text and you don't get a reply. So to think, okay, you do that, and then what happens next? You might go into a feeling and start feeling like, oh, they don't value my time, they're always late. Or you might start worrying. And then does a physical symptom show up for you? What does your body start to think? What does your body start to feel as a physical symptom? And then what's your behavior? Do you find that you will act a certain way? Or, just to really think about what happens. What would happen to me if this was me in this situation? So we're going to look at 2 different scenarios. We're going to do the 1, 2, 3 breathe at the end, because I'd like to share a breathing little technique with you guys in that one. And the first one we're going to do is looking at things differently. So we'll just kind of run through, and I'll share with you the things that we go through in that session. I'll just do it in really short form. In the bigger groups, we usually, we have a big group, so we kind of go through each person and see how they can resonate to that. So with this one, it's unhelpful thoughts can spoil your life. So when we think about that, we can have a thought and we can change the way that we think, or we can kind of really hold on to that thought, and we can get stuck in that vicious cycle and just kind of, think about all the other things that have happened in our life that have created this, or we can look at things a little differently. So again, we use the vicious cycle circle. And we just kind of think, when we have an unhelpful thought, what happens? Do I have a feeling? Do I have a physical symptom? And then how does my behavior change? Because 99% of the time, our behavior will change from that thought. We may shut down, like I mentioned before, we may lash out, we may do all sorts of different things. So really to think about, where do you fall in this? When you have that thought, whatever that thought may be, that's not helpful, what's kind of the next thing that happens to you? Do you start to feel those physical symptoms and then they kind of trickle into the rest of your day? Or what kind of happens for you? And then we have these 5. In this one, we go through the 5. We call them Amazing Unhelpful Thought Busting Program. So we know that we have this thought, so we label it. And then we try to leave it alone. So it's not that we're ignoring it, but we're just going, okay, I have this thought, but right now it's not serving me. So it can be like you're driving and you have a thought, and then all of a sudden you feel like it's just taking over. So at that time, you want to kind of go, acknowledge the thought. So yeah, I'm having that thought. I'm just going to put that aside for now. It doesn't always work. You know, we're human. It's not always so easy to just say, I'm just going to shut this down for now. But this is just to kind of help us a little bit where we can. So kind of leaving it aside. And then sometimes we just can't stop thinking about it. So it takes over our day. If we're out for a meal and say we had a text from someone or an email, or we had a phone call on our way there, it almost starts to take over whatever we're doing. So then it's kind of almost like a bully. Like, you know, sometimes you have to kind of stand up to them for them to kind of, you know, back away. So, and these ideas are not for you to go through each one, you know, step by step by step. You might label it and you might want to jump to giving yourself a break. Whatever works for you in this is what I always say. Take what works and leave the rest. So the 4th one is giving yourself a break. So that can be a physical break, or that can be a mental break. So sometimes we just have to turn ourselves away, even physically, from the thought, and just, you know, intentionally saying, you know what, I'm just going to turn my back on this for now, because I can't do anything with it. If there's something going on, I can deal with that when I can, but right now I just can't do it. So looking at what works for you in these 5 steps, and then looking at it differently. You know, sometimes when we have a thought, we naturally go to the worst case scenario, and we might think, oh, this is just awful. Everything always goes wrong for me. Why does this always happen to me? So kind of looking at it differently and saying, okay, maybe I can take a step back, which is not easy to do, but when we can have that little bit of awareness, we can look at it a little differently, and then just looking at it from a different perspective. And what I like to share is looking at it as if my friend was coming to me, or my partner, or whoever I'm taking care of was coming to me with this, how would I look at it then? So kind of speaking to ourselves how we would, or looking at something as if we would look at it for a friend. Normally when a friend comes to us with something, you know, we're really good at kind of helping them see things differently, but not so much when it's ourselves. So just kind of giving yourself that grace as well that you would give to someone else, because, you know, we do all have a lot going on, whether it's taking care of, you know, loved ones, or whether we're in the career, whatever we're doing, we've got so much on the go. So really kind of seeing if this works for you, to even jot this down now, because I know we won't be sharing the slides, but just to jot this down and just use it where you can to kind of look at things a little differently. So in the session we go through, you know, we'll kind of go through each person, just say what's on kind of an unhelpful thought that you have that you find comes up a lot. It could vary. I mean, there are so many examples. I'm sure you can all think of so many. Just looking at, okay, what are the thoughts? What's an unhelpful thought that comes up for me that really kind of spoils my life, or like bogs me down? And then really acknowledging it. So giving it that label, and then turning, you know, turning your back to it, almost just going, you know what, I can't deal with this right now. So I'm just going to put this away for now, and I've got to drive, or I've got to do this, or whatever you're doing, and then come back to it. And then the standing up to it. So going, you know what, this is not helpful for me right now. This is a thought. This may be something that's happened to me in the past, but it's not right now. Because a lot of times we can have that vicious cycle can make things come back to us that may have happened to us 5 years ago, 10 years ago, even a year ago. But when something kind of the same happens, it brings us right back to that moment where it feels like this is happening to me again right now. But if we kind of take that step back, then sometimes we can kind of see like, okay, that happened to me then and it served me then. But where I am right now, this is not really working and this is not going to help me move forward. And then giving yourself that break, again, like I mentioned, it can be a physical break. It can be just an emotional break, just saying, I'm just going to give myself a 15-minute break to think about something else or do something else that will kind of take my mind off the thing that's really kind of taking over. And then the last step again is looking at it differently. So just, how would I look at this if I was talking to a friend, or what's a different lens that I can look at it? And just really kind of brainstorming. And again, if you feel like you talking to someone would help, and just say, like, this is kind of really weighing me down. How do you see it? Or what would you, how would you deal with it? Or what would you do differently about it? I think it always really helps to see it from a different perspective. So again, like I mentioned, if any of you want to write these down or just take a note of just kind of, bringing it up in your life, whether it's putting it on your fridge or at your workplace or anything, to just kind of look at things a little bit differently and giving yourself that mental or physical break from what's going on, because there is always a lot going on, as I mentioned. And then one of the other sessions, this is one of my favorite ones, is the 1, 2, 3 breathe. So I think this is really important for caregivers, and we're all caregivers in different dynamics. So this one is really about, how do we ask for help? So, when we have a lot going on, sometimes we know that we need that help, but we really don't know how to ask for the help, or the way that we are asking for help isn't really helping us, because, we expect that people should know what we need or want, but we're like, well, they can see that I'm so busy, I have so much on the go, but they're not helping me. So with this one, we're going to kind of go through and say, well, how do you ask for help? And again, just looking at how this resonates for you. So when you're asking for help, does it feel like you're screaming it from the rooftops and you're not being heard? Do you feel like the way that you are asking for help, we can sometimes get really tired and bitter and resentful. So we kind of can ask in not so kind ways, which is understandable when we're so tired and burnt out. So just really seeing, how do I ask for help? And, or do we kind of do it in a way where we'll kind of make little comments and expect that the other person should almost be a mind reader and know what it is that we need, but we're still not getting what we need. So with this one, it's really important to just think about, how do I ask for help? Do I make little comments? Do I actually ask straight out what I need? So then taking us back to yourself again, to how do you ask for what you need? So looking at, maybe the way that I'm doing it isn't working. So maybe there's different ways that I need to ask for help. Or some of us may not ask for help because we think we can do it all, but it gets, the load gets heavy to carry. So how do I ask for the help that I need? So sometimes it's good to just, when we have these kind of sessions, to kind of take some time afterwards and just really think about how you can apply this in your day-to-day, whether it's work, whether it's home, family, whatever it is. How can I ask for things differently? And then just remembering, it takes a lot more than a few tries, a lot more than a couple of handfuls of tries sometimes, until things start to work. So just kind of thinking, well, if this isn't working, what's a different way that I can try that will work? And then this piece I really like, which is thinking about what the issue is, right? So these 3 things, again, if you want to write these down, what is the issue? Is it that I have too much on my plate? Is it that I'm tired? Is it that I just get no time to myself? And then the biggest one is really the second one, which is, what's the impact on you? Because everything that we do has an impact on us in some way, shape, or form. So if you're really burnt out, or you've just got way too much on your plate, what is the impact that it's having on you? So that's the biggest piece for myself. I find that's the biggest piece to really think about. What is this impact? What kind of impact is this having on me? And then the third step is, what do you need? So what would you need to feel like you have some help, or you can get a bit of a breather, whatever it is? What is it that you need? And then this is a big one as well, saying yes when you mean to say no. I think, as humans, we tend to do this a lot when we want to say no because we're tired or whatever it is, but we feel like we have to say yes. So really kind of thinking about, when do you say yes and when do you say no? And what are some of the things that you're saying yes to that you want to say no to? And vice versa. When we say yes to something, we have to say no to something else. So what am I saying yes to? And what am I saying no to? And what do I really want to say yes or no to? So sometimes we can say yes to a few things, and then we have some time to do some other things that we actually want to do, which is ideally what we want, is that balance. Or we can just say yes to everything, and then we can start to get bitter or resentful, or we just feel like, well, I'm always doing everything for everybody else, and I just don't have the time to do it for me. And then there are times as well when we're caring for someone and we don't have an option. It feels like, well, I can't say no to anything because there's only me that has to do it all. So really kind of looking at this and seeing what works, what doesn't work, and doing more of what does work, but really kind of taking the time to see what is the impact on you. So that's the biggest one I always say to take away is, what's the impact on you on doing everything, or having as much on your plate as you do have. And then it's putting it on repeat. So seeing what is working, and just knowing that things take time. It's not just going to be you do it once and it's going to work. Whenever we kind of change a pattern or change something, it is hard for everybody. It's even hard for us if we're kind of used to always saying yes to everybody. Then saying no can feel like, it can feel like there's some guilt, or, well, if I don't get it done, then no one's, it's just not going to get done. Just to kind of look at things and say, well, what are things that I can ask for help for? And what are some things that I absolutely have to do for myself? And what are things that I can delegate and get other people to kind of step in? Some of the little smaller things may be easier to, ask other people for help. But again, I will say, I know it's hard. It's not easy to, ask for that help when you're maybe the only one doing it, or people can do things differently. So then one piece I'm going to share is, we'll kind of do this in a couple of minutes here at the end, is finding something for you that's a small thing that you can kind of take away and do. That's why I share the little things that are just a few minutes, because what I find is, for myself, and then for other people I've shared it with as well, is when you can have something that's just a couple of minutes, whether you're sitting in the car and you can just quickly do it, or whether you have to just go to the bathroom and take a little break, take 2 minutes. We can all take out those 2 minutes and just do like a breathing or do something for ourselves. It really does make a difference. We're always on the go. We've always got so much going on, so much to do for everybody else, but just giving ourselves those couple of minutes does make such a difference. And then we just wanted to share, some of the facilitators' words. I'll let you guys read this. Is when we've done the courses, there are, it does make such a difference, because there's a few different things. There's a community piece where you can come together with others who are kind of going through the same things, and then you can share ideas with them as well and say, this is what's working for me, and this is what's working for other people. And each person that takes the course, they have quite the breakthroughs, because like I said, each session builds upon the other. I just shared a couple of them that we do, but you can imagine when we go through these, you take it away, we go into it in a lot more depth in each session, but you take it away and then you apply that for the 7 days or 5 days, or even if you can only do it for a few days, something's better than nothing. So just kind of applying it, and then you can imagine how doing that for a week, or just even having it at the back of your mind, is you can see that it would make a difference. So this was just some facilitator words that we wanted to share. And then at the end here, I wanted to share some additional links if anybody wanted to contact any of the branches, or have a little more deeper look at the things that are shared, where you can find more information, where you can find more about the course. And then I think Laura will be sharing some resources as well that I did share with her, but I'm going to stop the share here. And then I'm going to go through the breathing exercise, which you're welcome to join me. I only do a minute, but there's an instant reaction you'll feel in your body if you do this. And I'll just go through it and I'll just explain a little bit about it. And then you can see if you feel comfortable to do so, you can follow through. If not, you can just listen and you will get a resource which has the in-depth explanation of it. So this, it affects the OCR, which is the oculocardiac reflex in the eyes, which serves as a really powerful doorway to the relaxation response. So the OCR directly affects the vagus nerve, which runs from the brain all the way down to the spinal cord, to the heart, and to the stomach. So when we do this little exercise, like I said, less than a minute, it activates that OCR, which communicates to the vagus nerve that we are not in danger. Because, you know, sometimes when we have these thoughts, we kind of go into that panic mode and we start to think we're back in that moment. So it communicates to the vagus nerve that we're not in danger, and it initiates that slowdown. So our heart rate will slow down, our blood pressure will slow down. And when we do it now, if you do it with me, you will notice that it actually relaxes your whole body. So what we do is, I'll kind of go through it and just tell you guys, and then if you want to join, that would be great. So the karate chop, so the sides of our hands, so we place that along the side of our nose, and then our pinkies are going to go on our forehead. So we're going to kind of be like this. So I'll just kind of explain it and then we can do it. And then we're going to cup our eyes. So we'll kind of put our thumbs around to our eyes like this, but we're not going to press hard. So we're just basically going to cover our eyes. Again, only if you feel safe to do so. So there's just darkness around your eyes. And then you're going to breathe into that darkness. But the main thing here is to make sure your shoulders don't go up and down as you breathe. Because usually when we breathe, you know, our shoulders tend to go up and down. So we want to really do that deep belly breath. And then when you do this, you may feel a tingling throughout your whole body, or you may feel something, you may feel emotions come up. I've done this with some people, and they feel a rush of emotion come up because we hold on to things so tight in our body. So I'm going to welcome you, if you feel okay to do so, to do this with me. And if not, you can watch and then you can do it in your own time. So we're just going to put the sides of our hands along our nose, pinkies on the forehead, and cup our eyes with our hands. And our thumbs are kind of at our temples. And then you're going to breathe deep into your eyes. Just remembering that not to lift your shoulders, so keeping your shoulders down. And just taking those deep belly breaths. You can take as many of those as you feel right to do so. And you can do this for as long as you want. And then whenever you feel like you're ready, you can come back. And as I mentioned, sometimes you may feel emotions that come up from that if you've held on to things and you just kind of, you know, go. Or again, what I like about this is you could just pop into the bathroom and do this if you just need a quick breather, or sit in your car and do this, or right before you go to bed, whatever it is. It's a really quick thing to do, but it has such an impact on your body because it just kind of relaxes your whole body.